Welcome to this explainer. We're diving right into the exact forecasts for the 2027 Social Security Cost of Living Adjustment, the COLA, and uncovering what it literally means for your wallet. If you're tracking your future benefits, you already know this number is everything.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the 2027 estimates, the changing forecasts, the impact on your monthly check, the calculation math, buying power erosion, and the final announcement timeline. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The 2027 estimates and where things stand.
We're talking about the financial bedrock for 75 million Americans. That's 75 million retirees, disabled workers, and survivors collecting Social Security or supplemental security income. Every single one of them is anxiously awaiting this one crucial percentage that dictates how their checks will keep pace with inflation.
Last year, in 2026, beneficiaries saw a 2.8% increase. But for 2027, the major independent forecasts are clustering significantly higher. Right now, projections are sitting comfortably between 3.6% and 3.8%. That is a noticeably bigger bump than last year, even if it's kind of cooled off from some of the wilder estimates we saw back in the spring.
So, who exactly is predicting what?
Well, the Senior Citizens League, a nonpartisan advocacy group, is holding steady at a 3.8% projection. Independent analyst Mary Johnson slightly dropped her estimate to 3.7%, and AARP just put out its first ever prediction for this year, placing it at 3.6%.
Section 2. Changing forecasts, or as I like to call it, the roller coaster. Getting to these current numbers has been an incredibly erratic ride this year. We actually started with a super low projection of just 2.5% back in January. Then as inflation heated up, the estimate jumped to 3.9% in May and spiked to a whopping 4.7% in June. That would have been the fourth highest increase in 36 years. But then things cooled right back down to 3.7% in July.
So, what caused that sudden drop? It really came down to the June Consumer Price Index decelerating sharply to a 3.5% year-over-year increase, which was a huge step down from May's 4.2%. And the absolute main culprit for this massive swing? Falling energy prices.
This abrupt shift is exactly why independent analyst Mary Johnson slashed her own forecast all the way from 4.7% down to 3.7%. She pointed out that this was a really significant drop in inflation, and honestly, one we've rarely seen in the June data over the past half-decade.
But you know, it's not just domestic numbers driving this bus. Geopolitics plays a massive role. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran continue to cloud the oil outlook. A lasting peace agreement could significantly lower oil prices, which pulls your COLA projection down with it. On the flip side, an escalation in hostilities might push oil prices, and by extension those COLA estimates, right back up above that 4% mark.
Section 3. Monthly check impact. Dollars and cents. Let's translate these abstract percentages into actual money hitting your bank account. To do that, we need a baseline. As of June 2026, the average monthly Social Security benefit for a retired worker was right around $2,084.
When you apply those current forecasts to that $2,084 average benefit, the math gets very real. Retirees are looking at roughly $75 to $79 more per month, depending on which forecast actually hits the mark. That's about $900 to $950 more a year. That easily outpaces the $56 monthly bump we saw in 2026. So yes, your check will grow, but whether that growth actually keeps pace with your grocery and utility bills is the real question.
Section 4. COLA calculation math. Behind the numbers.
To truly understand why we don't just lock in a forecast today, you have to look at the government's formula. The entire system hinges on a very specific metric called the CPI-W. That stands for the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. The Social Security Administration doesn't use the broader inflation metrics you hear about on the evening news. They track price changes for this highly specific basket of goods and services.
The actual math is surprisingly straightforward. They identify the average CPI-W for the third quarter of the current year. That's July, August, and September. Then, they compare it to the third quarter average from the previous year. The percentage increase between those two numbers becomes your exact COLA for the following year. That is exactly why July, August, and September data is so incredibly vital. Now, here's a quick heads up for the future. Starting in December 2027, there's a proposal to shift to a chained version of the CPI-W. While it won't impact the 2027 COLA we're talking about right now, it is vital to know that the Social Security Administration estimates this formula tweak could reduce annual COLAs by about 0.3 percentage points on average in the years to come.
Section 5. Buying power erosion, the bigger picture.
Now we have to talk about the most critical systemic issue affecting fixed-income seniors today, the silent erosion of your purchasing power. Even with the projected 3.8% bump, the Senior Citizens League found a sobering reality. $1 in Social Security benefits today buys only what 86.3 cents bought a decade ago, back in 2016. Your benefits have fundamentally lost significant buying power because annual COLAs consistently lag behind the real-world price increases that you actually face.
This constant lagging behind has devastating consequences. Shannon Benton, the executive director of TSCL, recently pointed out that poverty is increasing rapidly among American seniors. Tragically, seniors now make up the fastest-growing portion of the homeless population.
This erosion is exactly why you're seeing advocates aggressively pushing for systemic reforms, most notably the Social Security 2100 Act recently reintroduced in Congress. This act proposes an across-the-board benefit raise of 2%, establishes a new minimum benefit at 125% of the federal poverty line, and, crucially, changes the COLA calculation to the CPI-E. That's an index specifically designed to better reflect the actual costs that elderly folks face.
Section 6. Announcement timeline. When will we finally know?
Go ahead and mark your calendars. In September 2026, the final Q3 CPI data will be reported. Then, on Wednesday, October 14, 2026, the Social Security Administration will drop the official announcement. This clears the way for those newly increased benefits to finally hit your checks starting in January 2027.
I want to leave you with this final thought. If Social Security benefits continue to lose 14% of their purchasing power every single decade, is a 3.8% annual COLA really enough to protect the future of American retirees? Sure, an extra $79 a month sounds great on paper, but is the current system actually structurally equipped to protect you in the long run? Or is it time for a fundamental overhaul? Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and definitely keep a close eye on those monthly inflation reports.